Okay, send an ambulance too. This case is an interesting test of empathy and balance. I mean, look, there's no right or wrong answers. All of us are having the luxury of sitting in front of our computer screens or on our phones, just watching, just judging, right? There are no right or wrong answers here because what happened is horrible. What Andrea went through is horrible. What Andrea did is terrible. But everything from how the state handled this to how Rusty handled it to how Andrea handled it and what happened to the children is just a complete tragedy. Also, is there a right or wrong answer to a tragedy, truly? I mean, look, I already know y'all are going to be going back and forth in the YouTube comments, but I want to remind you that on my channel, you're allowed to have your own opinion. My job here is basically to tell you everything that happened A to Z. And if you think I just told you everything that happened in the intro, it goes so much deeper than that. Also, if you're new here, I'm Bose. On Saturdays, we do Sinister, which is a show, about female killers. I just find it way, way more interesting. I grew up watching Deadly Women and Snapped, so here we are today. This case is a little bit interesting because is Andrea really sinister? Did she just have sinister thoughts? I don't know. You decide. But I want to warn new people ahead of time. I have opinions. Okay, I just do. If you want a cookie cutter channel that's just completely neutral, here's a story, boom, 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 then look, there's a lot of those on YouTube. But we've done dozens of pages of research on this case, gone through lots of court files, watched lots of videos, interviews, and everything, and I put it together for you in a storytelling format. But because this is my channel, because this is my house, I have a couple things to say. And most of my opinions, I'm gonna let you know right now, are a lot of it's about Rusty Yates, but I just like to remind you guys that what makes this channel more unique is, it's the fact that I'm going to inject some of my own thoughts in there. But I always want to remind you that what I think is not gospel, okay? Like, you're allowed to ingest my opinions, run it through your brain, and decide, oh, I do believe this, I want to keep this, or you know what, I don't like that, I want to throw that one away. We can keep that in Bo's opinion land, okay? So just, I might throw some stuff at you. You decide what you want to keep, you decide what you want to kick, and overall, you keep your opinion and you keep your individuality. But if you enjoy the storytelling, the research, the cases that we pick, I am always so interested in female killers. I'm always so interested in things pertaining to religion and Christianity. Then look, this is your home base, and I'll see you next Saturday. Andrea Pia Kennedy was born on July 2nd, 1964 in Houston, Texas. She was actually the youngest of 5 children. She was born to her parents who were German immigrants, Andrew and Jutta. Not too much is known about her early childhood, but we do know that come high school, when she was about 16 or 17 years old, she had this long brown hair. She was very pretty. She was very thin. She was a swimmer, she was athletic, a little reserved, but also she suffered from pretty serious depression even in high school. She also was recorded as being bulimic and had expressed to friends suicidal thoughts in the past. They were so concerned about this that they told others. Of course, this didn't really come out until after the murders. Overall, though, she was captain of the swim team. She did very, very well in school. She even graduated as a valedictorian. And see, this is part of the problem, because a lot of the times the kids that push themselves and really want to prove themselves, they're the ones that are struggling the most mentally, but everyone sees oh, you're on honor roll, you're valedictorian. Well, they're actually doing good. Let's just ignore their mental health issues because, they're actually doing pretty good. It just, it bothers me sometimes. But by all accounts, she had been reaching out and asking people for help, but they basically were like, you're on the honor roll. Just keep going. Just keep doing that. One thing that kept her pretty sane and happy was swimming. Like I said, I mean, can you just imagine Andrea just being this tall, 5'10", beautiful girl in Texas that, she's going through a lot at times, but she washes away her stress just by diving into the water. She loved to swim. It was very, very calming for her. After high school, she went to college. She went to the University of Houston, and she was a nursing major. She completed a 2-year pre-nursing program, and then she graduated later from the University of Texas at the Health Science Center. From 1986 until 1994, Andrea Yates, she just worked as a nurse. She was kind of, doing her own thing. She had her life pretty set up. She had her own place. She, even had a swimming pool at her apartment complex. That's where she would often go. She was single. She just worked, swam, and that was her life. She had friends around this time that, unlike the friends in high school, they actually said she was pretty okay. Like, she wasn't still expressing, these suicidal thoughts. No one mentioned anything about the bulimia. We don't fully know what exactly her mental state was because, people can hide things pretty well, but the reports from this period of time up until 94 were different than the ones from high school. I mean, also, she held this job for 8 years and there were no reports at work of unusual behavior. She came in on time. She did her thing. She took care of her patients. She was very kind and caring, according to everyone that knew her around this time. This was when she was in her early 20s, like 22 until 30. But before she quit her job in 94, something did happen. Remember when I said that she kind of liked to swim at her apartment's complex and it was just like a relaxing thing for her? She's not out here having pool days with friends and like, oh, let's go get a cabana, let's go do this. She would just, get out there and just dive in and relax. Very often at her complex. And that's when this guy named Russell, they called him Rusty, Yates, saw her swimming. He was single at the time. Rusty was a Christian at the time. And, a lot of times Christian men, they'd be looking for a wife, right? He had his eye on her. He thought that she was tall, beautiful, she seemed kind, she was a nurse. And, he saw her often and really wanted to talk to her, but he didn't really make a move. Eventually he does. And they talk, and he wants to go out with her. And Andrea kind of says, no thanks, I'm swimming. And she kind of blows him off the first time. And he's like, whoa, okay. Like, we don't know all the details of it, but he just kind of backs off. And she says, no, I'm busy. But she thinks about it a little bit. I mean, she's single too. She's, almost in her 30s. She's got a pretty stable life. He seemed nice. And so the next time she sees him, she says, okay, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I'll go out with you. Let's hang out. They go out on a date and they hit it off. I mean, also, Rusty was at a point in his life where he was looking for a wife and he was ready to settle down. Because look, when a man doesn't want to settle down, he's just going to be running around doing whatever. But when he's ready to settle down, he's really going to come to you like he's Prince Charming. He's going to be putting on all the stops. And that's exactly what Rusty did. And she kind of fell into it. The dates were going well. They were both stable in their life. They really liked each other. I mean, Rusty was a NASA engineer. Ooh, especially in the early 2000s. That was a hot job. That was the one. So they move in together and they start a life. Shortly after, they get married. After they get married, Andrea becomes very religious because Rusty was religious. A few years prior to this, like 5 years before they got married, Rusty had met this guy named Michael Peter Warnecki, and he was a non-denominational preacher. Look, y'all know I was raised in the church. So as I'm reading this, I mean, granted, I know that Michael Warnecki is pretty cuckoo. When I see non-denominational preacher, my immediate thought is, what is that? What's your goal here? What's the plan? I don't know why, but I don't like that. Non-denominational preacher. Okay. Basically, what he's trying to say with that title is, I don't subscribe to any one sector of religion. I just preach the word of God. which I don't know why, but that rubs me the wrong way. And maybe it doesn't rub some of you guys the wrong way, but if you're on the same page as me, I don't know, write why in the comments. There's something off about that. It feels weird. Then again, I was in a Pentecostal church, so people up in my church speaking in tongues, and this guy's like, well,